So you grew up in India until you were 4. You moved New York. I know you spent time, obviously, growing up too in California.
Yeah.
But then you will. I feel you and I, in so many ways, we have. For me, happened inside Spain. I grew up in. I grew up. I was born north of Spain, but I grew up in Barcelona. But then the
Hmm.
summers, I will be sent away 2 hours away only. Not like you, that you will be sent far away on planet Earth. But still, to me, those 2 hours was like a fascinating moment. For me, it was so far away from where I was living. And so imagine yourself being this youngster living a life in New York, but then being sent in summers with your grandparents in India. This had to be powerful for a young a young person growing up, and for you had to be a very important moment, understanding that you were part of two realities: the India that you grew up, that you were born and grew up, and at the same time the New York in America. This is a very fascinating way to grow up.
It is. I mean, I had two completely different upbringings, both equally important influences. You know, my life in America with my mom in New York City was exciting. I had a lot of autonomy. I was a latchkey kid. And in India, we lived 8 to 10 people in a little two-bedroom apartment. My grandmother cooked for that many people on a two-burner stove. She never used the fridge. My grandmother never got a fridge until 1977. And so she didn't really know what to do with the fridge except for keep ice water in it, you know. So she was cooking constantly. And I had all of these influences. My grandparents, of course, my grandfather loved books, which is why I think I'm a writer and I love to read. And my grandmother was a great cook. And through teaching me how to cook, my grandmother also taught me, you know, about life. She was a very practical woman. She was not a cuddly grandma, you know. She didn't have the luxury of time to be one. And so she would always teach me things. Like she would say, you know, when we would make like a stew of some kind, she would say, don't put everything at once. There's a right time for everything. Everything cooks at a different timetable, and it's your job to know how to add things in what order. And it's the same thing in your life. You want so much independence, but you're not ready for that independence. And if I give you independence too early, it's going to make you, in a way, distorted because you're not ready to handle that. And I want you to have a good experience for all the things that come your way. Just like that soup has to be ready, you know, for the cilantro. Only put the cilantro at the end. Potatoes much earlier. Cilantro at the end. So, you know, in teaching me all these principles of food as a young girl, I'm talking 5, 7, 8, 10, 12. She also taught me a lot about life. And in my grandmother's kitchen, there was a very big hierarchy, just like a professional kitchen. You know, first you were only allowed to break the ends off beans or wash the vegetables. Then when you got, you know, in sixth grade, then you could start chopping. Then when you were a teenager, you were finally allowed to turn on the stove and make tea. But you were never allowed to do anything, not even make the rice, until you were in college. And then before you got married, you were taught what you needed to know.